Today's video is state land versus customary land. Which is better? If you want to find out, make sure that you watch the full video. If we haven't met and it's your first time here, my name is Natasha Chumia. I'm the director of Diaspora Connect. And on this channel, we love to give you information and inspiration to help you in the diaspora buy property back home in a safe and reliable way. In my last video, we talked about the pros and cons of acquiring customary land. And I'm using the terms interchangeably. Customary land and traditional land, I mean the same thing. So if you didn't watch part 1 or that first video, make sure you pause this video and go and watch that one first. Today, I'm going to take that conversation further and ask which one is better, state land, which is on title, or customary land. A quick note though, before we get started. As Diaspora Connect, we don't deal in traditional land. So please don't get in touch with us. Don't send us DMs or emails saying that you bought some traditional land somewhere and you need help getting it on title deeds. We do not deal with customary or traditional land. But we felt that we could share some information about it that would be useful and helpful to you. But before we get into all of that, we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers and we would really love your help to meet this goal. So if you haven't done so already, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Let's get into the first point, which is clear boundaries. Now, in state land, you have a title deed which has a survey diagram. The exact size and location of your property is indicated in that survey diagram, including coordinates that show exactly where the boundaries are of your property and the exact size. This is very different to customary land, where the boundaries of your property are determined by landmarks, often hills or trees and footsteps. So very often, when people convert their customary land into state land on title, the size of what they thought they owned can actually diminish once a survey diagram is actually prepared and the exact coordinates are pinpointed. The second point is encroachment. Because with state land, the boundaries of your property are so clearly defined in that survey diagram that I talked about, it actually protects you from encroachment and trespassers. Whereas with customary land, because it's undocumented and because the boundaries aren't very clearly identified, then you may find that you have encroachers on your property and then it can become very difficult to move them. So the third point that I want to make is other claims. Now, when you're buying a piece of land that is on title, you can actually do a due diligence on that piece of land. And we did a whole video about that. But basically, you can actually go to Ministry of Lands and check that property is really what it says it is. You can check who the vendor is, you can check the size. You can also check if there are any remarks against that property. For example, is there a mortgage on that property? Is there a caveat on that property? These are all things that might prevent you from taking ownership of the property if you're not careful. Whereas with customary land, as I've said already, it's undocumented. So you're not able to check any records to see if somebody else has bought that land before you. You really have to rely on trust. You have to trust that the headman or the headwoman who's selling you that piece of land is being honest in their dealings with you. And they have to take you to the chief, and that whole process has to happen. And then also, you have to trust them that they're not going to sell that property to anybody else once you've paid for it. Fourth point is transferring that property into your name. Now, with state land, there is already a well-documented process of how you can transfer that land into your name. Whereas with customary land, if you want to convert that land into state land in order to get title in your name, then that process can be very long and sometimes it can even take years. Then the fifth point is evidence of ownership. So with state land, which is on title, once that title deed is in your name, the law says that that is conclusive evidence that you are the owner of that piece of land. And there are very, very strict circumstances that somebody can come and challenge that. But with customary land, because there are no title deeds, other people can claim to have a stake or ownership in that piece of land. There's some areas where they're piloting what they're calling parcel certs. So these are certificates that show a piece of traditional land and who is meant to be the owner. But these certificates actually don't have a basis in law. They're actually being piloted by an independent organization. And my final point when I compare state land and customary land is leverage. So when you have title deeds, you can actually take those title deeds to the bank and borrow against your property. And you can borrow to buy more property, to add value to your property, or even invest in a business. Whereas unfortunately with customary land, because, and I'm sounding like a broken record now, but because there are no title deeds, it's not possible to leverage that piece of land the way you would with a property that has title. So those are the main points that I wanted to make about state land and customary land. Now, before I go further, I should mention that we have revamped our Facebook group. And this week, I'm going to be answering a really juicy question about customary land. So if you want to hear even more about this topic, then make sure that you go to Facebook and request to join us in Zambia Diaspora Connect. That's the name of our Facebook group, and you'll see that on the screen. So join us there and let's take this conversation further. So I didn't want to make this a biased conversation. And so far, of course, it looks as though state land is coming out tops. But state land is expensive because somebody has done all the hard work of getting that property on title. It tends to be quite pricey. Whereas customary land can be a great bargain. The prices are often really low, very affordable, giving a lot more people a chance to become landowners. State land can sometimes be seen as being prohibited for growth. So when you have large projects that need to be done, maybe an investor needs to put in a factory or maybe do large-scale commercial farming. It can be really expensive if they have to acquire land that is on title. Whereas with customary land, they can simply approach the headman or headwoman or the chief, of course, and be able to kickstart a large-scale development at a much, much lower cost. So in that sense, state land can actually prohibit real development. Also, there's an issue with speed when it comes to state land. Now, of course, when you buy a piece of land that is on property, there is a process that you have to go through in order for that property to be transferred into your name. And of course, this is a process that a lawyer should do for you. But that process, it can take a couple of weeks. Now, with customary land, as long as you don't mind it remaining as customary land, you can start using that property straight away. So in that sense, customary land is a lot faster to acquire and a lot faster to start making use of. The other point is fraud. Because there is so much demand for property and because property on title deeds gives you so much legal protection under the law, it's become a magnet for scammers. So unfortunately, there are cases of swindlers who create fake title deeds and fake IDs in order to scam you out of money. Now, we did a whole video on how to avoid being scammed, so make sure that you watch that so you don't fall prey to that kind of thing. Now, with customary land, of course, you do have some unscrupulous people who will try and scam you, even with customary land, but the losses tend to be much lower because usually customary land isn't sold for as much as land on title. Whatever the amount of money, nobody likes to lose money. So that's why it's always important to make sure you do proper checks, whatever land you're buying. So which is better, state land or customary land? Well, it depends. It really depends on what type of property you want, what type of project you have, what your risk appetite is. As a lawyer, I have a preference for state land because it is on title, because it is documented, and I can control and mitigate some of the risks that can be involved. But for you, it might be really different. So my question for you is, which is better, estate land or customary land? Let us know by leaving a comment in the section below. Okay, so I hope you found that really informative. Don't forget that we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, so we would really love your support. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed. Share this video with another Zambian in your community who you know is interested in property back home. And don't forget to connect with us on our social media platforms and join our Facebook group where we talk all things real estate. And otherwise, it's bye for now.